There is a heavy storm brewing by the lake, with violent tides and electricity zapping through the sky, hitting electricity poles. Two lovers make love in this terrifying weather, ending it by crying in each other's arms. Killian, the man, looks at a photograph as someone knocks on his door, telling him it is time to leave. Killian kisses the dark-skinned woman who is hugging him from behind. He tells her to remember him the same way he will remember her. He then takes his bag and leaves in the heavy rain. The woman says good luck to him as he leaves, but he says his luck has run out. They say goodbye. The next scene is of a man's funeral, with two young women crying by the grave. Later they are seen walking in a cluttered house. One of them, Daniela, talks about business, about how they need to sign some things in order to sell the property, while the other, Clarence, is more interested in eyeing the little trinkets and diaries that belong to Daniela's father. Someone calls the girls up to Killian, who is now an old man. He gets bathed by the two young girls. He seems to be Daniela's father. By the little cottage in the middle of the snow, Daniela tucks her father into bed and he utters words in a language she doesn't understand, making the girl cry and hug her father. He tells her to stay with him, to which she nods and stays by him. Clarence walks out and closes the door. Outside, she smiles and looks at a painting that seems to be a family tree. She walks to the kitchen where a woman is sweeping the floor. Clarence calls out to her, Julia. She says the older woman does not have to do house chores, but the woman says it is no bother. Clarence then asks the old woman dressed in black for a cup of hot chocolate, to which the old woman cheekily replies that the day she says no to hot chocolate is the day Clarence will have to worry about her. They sip on hot chocolate as they sit by the cozy fireplace. Clarence talks about part of a letter that was sent from Africa. She shows Julia the letter and Julia starts crying. She then apologizes for her extreme reaction and wipes her tears away. She says she cried because it is her husband's handwriting. Julia might be Killian's wife. Clarence continues, saying that he has mentioned a woman and some children they used to send money to. But the old woman cuts her off, saying she knows how to read and can very well tell what is written in the letters. But as Clarence pushes the topic, saying she looked at the accounts as well, Julia tells her that it would be a better idea if she asked her uncle, Killian. But he is in no position to talk. That's why Clarence is asking her aunt. She asks Julia what is wrong, and why she seems to be avoiding the topic. Julia gets up from her seat, saying that if they had never had to leave that place, she would not be here. Clarence gets a desperate expression on her face. She asks about her father, but Julia says he was not the type to show his emotions. And as she mentioned her mother, she cut herself off, with a sour expression stating that her mother was never a happy woman. Clarence then tells her aunt that she has decided to go to Bioko, but Julia says that it has been about 40 years since they left that place. Clarence won't like what she will find. Julia continues persuading Clarence not to go by saying that the Fernando Poo they knew is gone. Not to mention that it is a dangerous trip for a woman to take alone. But seeing Clarence's expression, Julia gives up on her persuasion. She sends her niece off, giving her some advice, like telling her to go to Simon when she reaches Sempaka. Simon was Killian's houseboy for several years and had other ties with them too. Julia continues talking, telling Clarence that Simon might be able to put her in contact with a man who is almost the same age as Clarence, a man named Fernando. Clarence nods, taking in all the advice given by the older, wiser lady. Clarence read Killian's old diary before she embarks on her trip. The journal entry is dated back to January 18, 1954, and he writes to Catalina, saying he stares at their house to remember every single detail. The scene changes back to that year, when Killian says goodbye to his family and leaves his home in a blizzard with his father. He rides the full bus with his father, and asks why a certain language is written one way and pronounced completely different. His father wears his hat over his eyes and falls asleep, ignoring his son. The son and father travel far and wide, even on a ship. Killian writes everything down in his diary. They were traveling to Guinea, where Killian was actually born. He excitedly narrates the entire journey. As the ship reaches Guinea, the men with Killian talk about the black people who are living there, calling them all sheep, and how Killian won't be able to tell them apart until after a few months. The respectable young man stays quiet. After they reach the ground, Manuel, the man who made fun of black people, a doctor, and Killian are driven. Killian looks out at the beautiful palm trees and clear sky. They reach a gated community and step out of the car. Once inside one of the big houses, they are introduced to Lorenzo, who assigns Killian a task and tells him to undergo training. At night, the young man practices phrases in a language spoken by the people of Guinea and falls asleep. He is woken up after a few hours by a siren-like sound and someone knocking on his door with food. Killian dresses quickly and rushes out the door to see everyone already working. If he was even a minute late, his pay would have been cut. The young energetic man is introduced to his boss, who is a strict, short man with a bad temper and too much rigid authority. He won't even let a sick man rest. He whips the man with a leash who is asking for a day off, and tells Killian that these slave workers are always lying to be lazy. As he is being instructed, there is screaming and several workers jump out of the van, Screaming snake. Killian is told to kill the snake, but when he cannot do it, his higher-up gets up there and chops the snake into pieces. They reach the work area and sing about work all together while doing hard labor. Killian supervises everything and is interested in the song. Asking his co-worker about it, he takes a stroll to an area that does not have anyone working, and comes across beautiful sights of exotic birds. He keeps on walking and comes to a clearing with a waterfall. There, a black woman is singing in a beautiful voice. As he walks closer, she looks back and quickly wipes at her eyes. She has been crying. He stares and raises a hand, indicating that she should not be scared. There is rustling behind him. Some people seem to be coming into this spot, and he looks back once and again at the woman, but she is already gone. He hears the leaves by him rustling more and tries to look for the mysterious woman, but he comes across his boss in an indecent act with a black woman. He apologizes quickly, but his boss warns him not to steer off the path, or else he will not survive in the jungle. Back in town, he walks through the market area and comes across a young lady who recognizes him. She asks if he remembers her and then reminds him that it is Julia. They hug happily. They have been childhood friends since they were 10 and are now seeing each other all grown up. She tells him that there is work here for her that keeps her occupied, and tells him that she asks about the mountains from Jacobo, one of the men who came with Killian. She searches for him with her eyes and he appears from the back. Julia and he greet each other with a side kiss on the cheek. She asks him about his vacations and teases him about him not missing them. She invites them to a farewell party and Killian says they will come, even against Jacobo's wishes. At night, the two boys arrive at the lavish mansion and Julia rushes to open the door for them, shyly looking at Jacobo. Over lunch, the grown-ups have a conversation, and then Julia's cooking is praised by the entire table. After dinner, Julia gives Jacobo a cup of warm tea as he talks about how he thinks his father is feeling down. Just then, one of the workers rushes up to the party, telling Jacobo that a fight broke out in the barracks where a few people were partying, and the fight involved a machete which seriously hurt a few people. The two young men apologize quickly for having to leave early and rush to the scene. However, once in their car, Jacobo praises the black workers' skills in lying and drives Killian to another party. Killian watches as white men dance with black women. There is singing and dancing involved and Killian watches, surprised. As they sit at the table, some women wearing skimpy clothing join them. The woman sitting beside Killian asks to dance with him, and he sheepishly gets up, getting into a slow dance with the woman, who runs her hands along his body. His friends are at the table while looking at his unmoving body on the dance floor, but the woman tells him to relax and be comfortable with her. After the dance, she takes him to a secluded corner in the jungle and takes her dress off. Killian writes in his diary, talking about the hectic work that they have to do from dusk till dawn, and on their free days, the boys go together to bars. The locals here think of Killian as an outsider, so he has not been able to make friends with them. His days go by in a hurry. He is a busy person, but when he gets time with his friends, they go to the club where the young, shy man partakes in romantic moments with one of the black women, never another, and gives her money for her services. One day, Killian goes to one of the more fancy parties held by the elites of that area. Everyone is dressed in tuxedos and fancy dresses spun with ruffles and lace. Jacobo takes 2 glasses of champagne and walks to Julia, asking if she is waiting for someone. Killian arrives there as well. Julia says she is waiting for Nelson, the worker who took the young men away from this party using an excuse. She tells Jacobo that she knows he sneaks away from these parties, but he doesn't budge. Instead, he comes up to her face and clearly states that she cannot control him because she is not his girlfriend. He then leaves Julia in distress. Killian walks up to her nervously and asks her to a dance, probably to cheer her up. They dance while making a small conversation, in which he apologizes for stepping on her toes the last time they danced, but she brushes it off saying she isn't the best dancer either, indirectly comparing herself with the women from the club where these men go. She further talks about how men can do whatever they want. They can have as many flings as they want, and women have to wait until they are tired of playing around and want to settle with one woman. She asks her friend, Killian, how he would feel if she gave herself to a new man every weekend, but he tells her that is not a conversation that is appropriate for a woman. She glares at him and walks away. He looks at her leave and calls out to her. They enter the hallway where the doctor who arrived with them stands. Killian introduces Julia to him, and they talk for a while before they hear a fight downstairs at the party. Everyone rushes to see what it is about. It is Julia's father, fighting with his old friend because he was called a foreigner on a land which he loves. Julia pulls her father away from the man before their fight escalates, and acts as an arbitrator, resolving the conflict before it gets worse. The way she handles a conflict between 2 grown men is really astounding. Not many people her age could take charge like that of a situation and control it within minutes. She then leaves with her family, and while leaving, stares at Jacobo, who is busy flirting with other women and will not even notice her act of service. The doctor calls her a special girl, and he and Killian follow her gaze to watch her looking at the flamboyant Jacobo. Early morning, Killian's father wakes him, telling him he does not want Killian to waste his time at clubs like his brother, and takes him to the beach, where they see turtles crossing the sand. His father tells him how these are all male turtles, and how female turtles come to this exact beach to lay eggs. When Killian asks how they remember where to come, his father tells him that no one forgets where they are born. After that, they walk inside the forest to a community of people. Little kids run up to them and ask for sweets, and Killian's father reacts lovingly. They seem to be well known and well liked in this area of land, and Killian watches with a smile as some people greet his father, including a girl, the same one he saw by the waterfall. She looks back at him while walking away several times, and he does not stop staring at her either. Clarence sits at the airport in the present era, looking at all the photographs of Killian with several people he knew. She seems very interested in his story. She sees a picture of Jacobo, and then a picture of Julia and Manuel standing together. Young Julia drives her car to Jacobo's house, and she is let in. As she is walking through the herd of people, Manuel, the doctor, approaches her from behind, telling her that there is a hunt going on around the area, hence the blackout. Jacobo has also noticed her come into this domain and witnesses. He walks up to them and taunts Julia for taking a long detour if she was headed to the cinema. Julia tells him that Manuel invited her to the hunt, and she walks away with him, hand in hand. Everyone sits by the fireplace, including Killian, his father, Julia, and Manuel. They give her some food from the hunt and she eats excitedly, calling it delicious. For some reason, Jacobo does not like seeing her there, and he loudly exclaims that this is no place for a woman. But she tells him not to be so old-fashioned. Killian's father fondly looks at her and tells her that she looks just like Mariana when she was her age, to which Julia smiles wide, her face illuminated by the bonfire. Julia takes her coat off, exposing her shoulders, and walks away to where several men and women are dancing naked. A woman beckons her over to their dancing and she joins the group as everyone watches. Manuel draws her. When Killian goes to his room, he finds a snake there. Right when the snake is about to attack him, he squishes its head. Killian runs up to Simon, a worker, and slaps him, asking who made him put a snake in his room. Simon exclaims that it was Umaru. Killian runs to Umaru, who is dancing at the party, and questions him in front of everyone. Umaru claims he was at the party the entire time, but Killian does not buy it. He asks for a rod to beat up the poor man. Killian whips the man hard, making his back bleed. He finally decides to speak, and what he says pins the blame onto Gregor, Killian's boss. Gregor compliments Killian, telling him he is almost like him and will do well on the island, making Killian stare him down. Killian punches him on the stomach, looks at his father apologetically, and leaves, but as he is walking away, he faints. Killian wakes up in a white bed, with some nurse singing and applying something to his feet. He watches her groggily through blurred vision and asks where he is, but the woman leaves, and Jacobo comes inside, greeting his friend. Turns out the bitus had bit Killian, but now that he is awake, he is out of danger. Work continues on, and it has been one whole season since Killian has been here. He writes to Catalina about the ripe harvests, Julia's friendship with Manuel, and a wedding they are invited to. He hopes he will be able to convince his father to go to where his mother and sister are for a vacation. Killian, along with his father, attends the locals' wedding, watching their strange but alluring customs and traditions. He asks his father how he knows their foreign language, and his father tells him that he has spent so much time with these people that he has even learned their language. Killian goes to congratulate the bride and groom, but once he sees the bride, he realizes she is the one he can't take his eyes off, the one he has met on several occasions. She stares at him as well as he congratulates her with gentle but surprised eyes. One day while it is raining, Simon runs up to Killian, notifying him of his father, Anton, who is in the hospital wing. Killian rushes there and sees everyone standing by his father's bed with a somber expression. Manuel tells him that his father has an incurable illness and cannot be operated on. He has only a few days left. Killian takes this new information in with teary eyes, not believing what he is hearing. The woman who recently got married, the mysterious woman who sings, sits by Anton's bed and tells them God does not send illness. Illness is sent by ancestors. She wipes the old man's forehead and looks up at Killian, who is stricken with grief. He cries and sobs by himself, walking out and sitting alone at a bench outside his father's room. He sees the nurse come in and beckons her to sit beside him. Once she sits there, he tells her that he has never taken care of his father's health and does not know what to do in this situation. The lady consoles him, telling him she would let the doctors take care of him. The locals of that place come to the hospital and conduct a ritual of their own for Anton's health. Later, he opens his eyes and Killian grabs his hand, asking why he did not go to their home if he was sick. Anton says he did not want his wife to see his dead body. Anton takes his last breath. His last words are, "Life is like a tornado. Peace, fury, and then peace again. A funeral is held for the well-respected man, and everyone pays their respect. Killian sees the lady doctor there as well, wearing a scarf over her head with tears in her eyes for his father. Jacobo can't seem to be able to handle his grief and runs from the funeral service. Julia follows him and he hugs her, forcefully kissing her. She pulls him away and tells him not to do that again because she is engaged to Manuel. He tells her she does not love him, but Julia tells him that she spent half her life chasing after him, and he only noticed her when she became someone else's woman. She walks away from him as he calls out to her and sobs uncontrollably. He continues running in the forest, not caring about where he is going, and screams out loud. In the present day, Clarence visits Anton's grave with teary eyes. She asks for Simon's contact information from a local office, and after much persuasion, the man at the office tells her she can look at his father's files and hope to find something. She smiles thankfully and looks through the files, certificates, and every form of paperwork, finally thinking that she found something that serves as a clue. However, she did not. A black man walks in and calls her the daughter of a colonist, but she denies the idea. The man at the office asks the boy, Iniko, to take her to a hotel. Before he goes to the hotel, he takes a short detour because he has to pick someone up from the airport. He picks his brother up, who is a social and energetic young man studying in Madrid. The boy invites Clarence to spend time with them and give them a chance to show hospitality. But Iniko is a rigid and angry man who does not like the idea. On the way to the club, Clarence bumps into a woman who is walking with her son. She stops her by gripping her arm tight, holding the young lady's face, and tells her that she reminds her of someone, and to be careful because she might find what she is looking for. The woman then leaves and Clarence asks who she is. She is told that the woman is known as Mama Sade, and Clarence should not get involved in a company like that. They go inside the club and Clarence sits down with a group of boys uncomfortably. Iniko asks to dance with her, and she reluctantly gets up with him. There on the dance floor, she is uncomfortable by the many people who are dancing around her. Iniko spins her around, her back to his chest, and keeps a hand over her eyes, telling her to feel the music in her stomach and her hips. She gets comfortable enough and starts dancing happily. The next day, she is back at the office, searching for Simon, wondering what she is doing herself. In the car, Iniko asks her what she is really doing here, and she tells him that she is here to find someone her father kept in contact with all these years. Iniko suddenly swerves to the right and drives the car dangerously down a poorly crafted road, scaring Clarence badly. She asks where they are going, and he says it is a surprise. After they get out of the car, the local man shows her a beautiful scenic view of the sea and the trees, and she stares at it, mesmerized. He tells her the same story Killian's father told Killian, about how the turtles come here to lay their eggs. They happily walk through the beach, and he shows her the guardian of the island, a big green tree. He hands her something as an offering to the guardian. It's flower petals. They leave the flowers in the sea. He next calls her to a waterfall where he is showering, naked. She strips out of her clothes as well and they laugh and hug in the water, kissing and making love at the beach. As they stand together, watching the sea, Clarence runs a hand over one of his scars, and he tells her he was in prison for being a bubai, and that many of them got arrested for no reason. Later on, they walk through the island, and Clarence sees a familiar place where she saw a photograph of her people. She takes her camera out, even though she is told not to take photographs. Someone screams at her to stop taking pictures, but she roams through the area, recording all the places she saw in the photographs. Iniko forcefully takes her away from the area, while the other men there call her a white girl as an insult. They enter a warehouse area, where a man is working. He tells the furious locals that he will handle Clarence. Clarence realizes that she has finally found Simon, the houseboy who worked for her father, Jacobo, and her uncle, Killian. Simon lovingly puts his hands on Clarence's face and asks her to give his regards to Killian. Before she can ask him for a man named Fernando, he leaves, and Iniko takes her away angrily. Once in their car, he asks why she is looking for this name, which is very common. She tells him that her father used to send a woman money through a man named Fernando, and she shows him a photograph of a woman, the same lady doctor. Seeing the picture, Iniko drives wobbly, before asking her how she has his mother's picture. He takes her to his house, and she sits at a table with the two brothers. The woman she has been searching for comes out of the hallway, carrying the other half of the picture which Clarence had. The complete photo comprises of the woman beside Killian, who sent them money during hard times, which helped them get by. She sits with the three youngsters and begins to tell the story of after Anton died. Killian went home for almost 3 years, and the woman, known as Bisila, had a child. After he returned, their gazes for each other had not changed in the slightest. He congratulates her for her baby and shakes her husband's hand. Later, he goes to the club and looks for his brother, Jacobo, and finds him there drunk out of his mind, all over the place. Jacobo sees his brother and asks him what is wrong. Killian hugs him as his brother explains that he is okay, but this reason is turning out to be harder than he expected. Suddenly there is the sound of a gunshot, and Gregorio is seen with a black woman in a chokehold, pointing a gun at everyone. After much persuasion and some stain on a white's integrity, Gregorio puts the gun away, handing it to Killian and walking away. On the way back, Killian tells his brother that it would be good if he went back home to rest. One day while Killian is with Julia and her new family, including her baby, Bicilla runs up to them and tells them of a person named Gustavo who is injured at the church. They witness a man getting shot and quickly go to the hospital with an injured man. Bicilla talks warmly to the man and stitches him up. It is almost nighttime when she is done treating him. Bicilla and Killian thank each other for doing a good job and then go to wash their hands together. Bicilla wipes his hands and his cheek, which has some blood. As she is leaving, he holds her hand and pulls her to him, cleaning her hands and her face intimately. But she leaves. As she walks out of the hospital, Killian follows her. He confesses to her that he is in love with her, and she walks to him, taking her clothes off, and tells him that her body is not untouched, but her heart is, and she will give it to him. He holds her hands and kisses them. They run their hands over each other's bodies and kiss passionately. He sits her up and they make love. Later they lay down together and she talks about the song she sang the first time he met her by the waterfall. He asks why she was crying then, and she says that she was scared about what path to take, because she heard horrific stories of women being punished for adultery. She tells Killian that they have to keep their love a secret. Killian works hard to get the business back in motion and spends time with the locals as well, all while Bicilla and he crave each other's love. One day, he secretly visits Bicilla again and they lay in the hospital bed together, kissing and touching. A few years later, Killian is in Julia's house playing with her child, when Simon comes in with a telegram, saying that Catalina, his sister, is very sick and they don't think she will get better. He takes the earliest flight, leaving a letter for Bicilla. Once home, Killian's mother sadly hugs her son. He walks inside to his sister and hands her the diary he wrote for her. He reads it for her. All the while, he sends Bicilla letters. He receives a letter from Africa. It is only a drawing, but he recognizes it to be from his lover. There is an attack at the hospital, leaving Bicilla scared. Just then, a car comes, but it is not Killian. It is Jacobo. He talks to Julia and tells her that he has found someone special and will be marrying her soon. She says she is very happy for him, and tells him she is happy too. But as he is leaving, he kisses her lips, telling her she cannot fool him. But she asks him to leave immediately. Bicilla is alone, in the warehouse where she and Killian made love for the first time. She smells the beans kept in sacks there, reminiscing about her lover. She suddenly sees a car following her, and 3 drunk men, including Jacobo, take Bicilla to the same warehouse she was at, and take advantage of her. Hearing this, Clarence cries out, her own father doing such a thing. When Bicilla is found by a local, she asks him to keep it a secret, and gets her dislocated arm treated. When Killian comes by, she does not meet him, but goes the other way. He visits Jacobo at the hospital, who seems to have gotten syphilis, and will be on medication for 3 months. There seems to be an uprising conflict between the locals and the Spanish. One day, Killian waits for Bicilla at the hospital and asks for her help in his brother's treatment, but she says she hopes he will die, and rushes away. 2 white men are found hanging from a tree, with rocks tied to their feet. It is the same 2 men that Bicilla. Killian goes around asking what is wrong with everyone. He asks his houseboy, Simon, and Ode what happened. When he doesn't get a clear answer, he pieces it all together and gasps. They tell him to stay out of it or Mosi, Bicilla's husband, will find out about his affair too. He goes to see Jacobo next, and refuses to hug him. He tells his brother what happened to the 2 friends who were with him that night. Killian asks him if he even knew who she was, and his brother disrespectfully answers, making Killian headbutt him and beat him in the hospital bed. He drags Jacobo all over the room and punches him, kicks him, and just as he is about to kill him with a medical instrument, he stops. He tells his brother that he his woman, and rushes out while it is raining. He goes to Ode, and gives him something on a paper, saying it is something he needs to say. Killian goes back to the hospital, and tells Bicilla he knows everything that happened. He asks for forgiveness from her ancestors for his brother's act. He asks for forgiveness from all men. She cries as she hears his genuine apology. She asks for time, but he says they don't have any. She does notify him that the hospital will be empty tomorrow night. The next day while working, Killian's truck breaks down. He shifts the workers to another truck. Before he can get to the hospital, it starts raining, but he still runs there in the pouring rain. Meanwhile, Mosi enters the hospital with a knife, most probably to kill Jacobo. Killian reaches there, and hears gunshots. It is Jacobo, shooting out of fear. Just as Killian comes in, Jacobo warns him of Mosi behind him, and shoots at the black man who is running at them with a knife. Everyone surrounds the crime scene, watching with fear as Killian stands in front of Jacobo. Bicilla bends over her husband's lifeless body and cries, and Killian tells her brother to leave the island at once. Jacobo tells his brother to look at him, but he does not, and sends him off. Julia watches her past love go, as he waves at her. Killian lays down alone. When he hears rustling, he takes out a weapon in fear that someone is here to attack him. But it is Bysilla, who has shaven her hair, and tells him that there will be no one to claim her son. So she has to leave him in her mother's care while she goes somewhere else. She holds his hands and asks him to promise he won't search for her for a year. When she returns, she hopes she will be able to start anew. She then tells him she will always be with him, and leaves. The next scenes show the Spanish leaving, as Guinea becomes a free state. The whites leave the area, some with sadness, some with anger. Killian watches Bysilla at the hospital. He gets ready to leave as well. One day while he is walking on a road, he is approached by a few people, who forcefully make him sit inside in the truck. They take him to dig a grave, and tell him that he is going to pay for his brother's sins. He gets hit by shovels and lays in the grave, while others throw dirt at him. Just then, Simon runs to the man, and tells him that Bysilla loves this man, and does not want him to die. Hearing this, the man stops the attack, and tells him to leave after Bysilla is done mourning. In the hospital bed, Killian asks Simon for a favor. He starts doing the work locals do, to keep his mind preoccupied. Julia tells Killian that this is her home too, but it is dangerous to live here any longer. She asks him a question: would he be willing to leave if she came along? Just then, someone asks to see her, and she tells Killian to wait. Killian walks outside to see Aniko playing with Julia's children, and he rushes outside to see Bysilla. They greet each other formally, and she has him hold her child. Now she has 2 children, and she tells him she cannot have any more, but he says 2 is enough, and that they can live as a family. She smiles at this. The ship arrives a few days later, and the Spanish board the ship. Killian and Bysilla try to get on too, but the military stops them, saying that she cannot get on, and even if she does, her children cannot. The military pushes the couple away, and closes the doors, shooting at civilians. Julia screams for Killian all the way from the boat, but he cannot make it there, and goes back with Bysilla. On the beautiful island, the 2 roam around in the jungle and reach the sea, where Killian walks behind his lover. She asks him to turn his back and not look at what she is doing. And when she asks him to turn around, he sees her dressed exquisitely. She asks him to undress himself, and she ties a cloth around his waist, telling him that this is a type of marriage that binds them together with love. She starts speaking promises to him, as one would do at a wedding, and he asks what he should say, and they speak their vows lovingly. They spend a short few days together. Their days are full of love and warmth, but all the Spaniards must leave the island because of a new decree soon. Clarence goes back to where her old uncle Killian is, and sings him a song that binds him to Bysilla. He hears it with tears in his eyes, sees Bysilla's face, and cries, sighing deeply. Back in Bysilla's house, she receives a letter and takes it to sea, walking inside the waters calmly. Aniko and his little brother, Bysilla's sons, visit the place where Killian and the girls reside. They meet Daniela and walk inside, walking past the family tree that Clarence looked at during the beginning of her journey.